This is the book of Hebrews chapter 12, point is verse 29, and it reads, I'm going to start at verse 28. This is good right here. I'm going to start at verse 26, Hebrews 12 and 26. Whose voice then shook the earth, but now he hath promised, saying, Yet once more I shake not the earth only, but also heaven. Verse 27, and this word yet once more signifieth the removing of those things that are shaken, as of things that are made, that those things which cannot be shaken may remain. Scriptures talk about the Lord not suffering the righteous to be moved. Verse 28, wherefore we receiving a kingdom, that's why we do this work. That's what drew you into the truth. You were called, but, by the end of this thing, we'll figure out who were the chosen. So many are called, but few are chosen. Wherefore we receiving a kingdom which cannot be moved, let us have grace whereby we may serve the Most High acceptably with reverence and godly fear. Verse 29, the point. For our power, Yahweh by Hashem Yahushua is a consuming fire. I want to start off by giving all praise, all honor, all glory to Call Haloyim La Yahweh by Hashem Yahushua by Hashem. Double honors to the elders, to the apostles that told me this truth. Peace and salutations to the Akim across the four corners of the earth, pushing this truth with faith and with sincerity, as well as wishing their lives and the freedom to do so, now more so than ever. Shalom to the Akim and the Akwath out there listening and learning. Lord willingly, this is edifying. Shalom to the Israelite foreigners scattered abroad in the land of other nations, appearing like the other nations, but subscribing to this truth. To you, I say shalom. So, Brother Yawasop, coming at you with another lesson through the spirit and through the power of Yahweh Bashem Yahushua. And this is spiritual because I was going to do a lesson on a totally different thing. And I act like through the spirit was like, well, no, I'm going to go ahead and change it up and redo the lesson. And I normally don't do that. I look at it like everything is the will of the Lord. But, even if if the lesson was meant to come out, it was the will of the Lord. And if it came out, it's the will of the Lord. You know what I mean? Like, got to look at these things spiritually, like the elder was saying. The elder that I highly respect, made a video that literally moved me, because and he'll show you how it's spiritual. He said the name of the lesson was supposed to be remember your first love, but he didn't name the video that. In the lesson he said that was the title of the video, but the name of the lesson was where's the fire. And if the Lord Yahweh Shem Yahushua is dealing with you, you're gonna still have that fire within you. He was going into how pretty much you come into the truth, you learn you're Israelite, and the Lord ignites that fire within you. And then, you telling everybody, he made a statement about how he'd be amongst niggas trying to give him the truth. And and I think we all did that. You know what I mean? Like, I did that. I was homeless around Jake. And Jake was making fun of me. You know what I mean? Like, I remember my brother said some shit like, what'd he say? He say, yeah, you so righteous, bring all of them together. You know what I mean? He talking about the niggas I grew up with. But it was spiritual because I knew then, like, these niggas, the Lord ain't dealing with these niggas. The Lord gonna kill these niggas. So, that was Satan mocking through my brother. So trust me, I understand when Jake be like, who is my mother, who's my brother, those that do the will and work of Yahweh Shem Yahushua. And spiritually, I still feel that way. Even with all I went through, the elder said something that was very powerful. He said, literally, once you really understand the truth, you don't even really, you hate them, but you don't hate them, because, like, it's all the will of the Lord, you know what I mean? You should be just grateful that, the Lord dealing with you, scriptures talk about pride puff of up, and I think sometimes Jake get comfortable, like the elder said, as well as get proud. You got to think about it. The little low-level shit I know, Salakia, I mean to slip of the tongue, but out of the heart, the low-level stuff I know, because I don't look at myself being on a high level. Maybe that's why the Lord did it that way. I do know certain things, and spiritually I know certain things, but for the most part, I'm a baby. So, but I can see Jake, like, anytime I talk to a woman, they be so mesmerized. And I know low-level shit. I keep saying shit, Salakia. This gold, you know what I mean? Because the way the spirit works, what the paths he send, the Lord path, the way wisdom send you through different paths to try you, You got to understand, this is truly a test. But not to go too far off subject, because, He was going into that fire and not trying to lose that fire. And if you are of the elect, you not. You know what I mean? You know, Jake recognized when you literally trying to do a lesson and Satan fucking with you. All to see if you're going to keep on trying to do that lesson. I've seen brothers do it. You know, I've experienced it. I've did whole lessons and the sound cut it out. You know what I mean? I got only a few subscribers. So, yeah, that really pissed me off. But at the end of the day, that's the will of the Lord. I swear one time I did it and it was a chariot. I'd see the chariot, but never thought to check the feed. And then afterwards, it was like they let me get all the way to saying the salute and everything and then cut everything else off. So, you know what I mean? At the end of the day, we constantly being tried. You know, the elder likened this truth onto a fight. You know, I forgot where it's at, but it talks about when Paul pretty much was, he said he had to fight with Beast, you know, talking about his own countrymen. You know, it's a reason why, you know, I think it's in Hebrews chapter 12, it talks about running the race. It's a reason why this is likened onto something athletic, because you got to push through it. You know, you got to fight for it. You know, in a race, you got to fight. You know what I mean? You got to fight to endure, you know? That's what scripture's talking about in the book of 2 Timothy chapter 2. I can't even come back late no more. Satan so busy like that. 2 Timothy chapter 2 and verse 3, it says, it says, though, therefore endure hardness as a good soldier of Yahweh Shai Mashiach. No man that warreth entangle himself with the affairs of this life, that he may please him who hath chosen him to be a soldier. You know, and when you go into that, the scriptures talk about us, the weapons of our warfare are not carnal, but spiritual, or mighty. I know I'm butchering it, but or mighty through the pulling down the strongholds. Based on us just speaking, this truth is so spiritually powerful. It's unraveling the earth. You know, I notice how people look at me. My sister is uncomfortable talking to me because she knows scriptures and she believes in something above and higher than herself. But, you know, we fucked up the people's comfortability, you know, and it's beautiful that they gonna get carnal, because that's just even proving the point of what we speaking is the truth. The truth is a deadly weapon to, you know, this kingdom. That's so powerful in a world full of lies. Just really sit back and meditate on it, you know. And I'm not saying that you're not going to have to get physically carnal, you know, motherfucker try to take you out. You know what I mean? Like at the end of the day, like, you know, even Esau's kingdom was talking about you got a right to defend yourself. But at the same time, we're not pushing no carnality, you know. We not pushing, you know, again, I wholeheartedly believe that, you know, and the Lord been revealing who is who, if you got the eyes to see and the ears to hear. You know, it was something deep the elder said, because he was going into how, you know, he said, no man, pretty much, no man, none have done of good and sin not, you know. I would never make it seem like I haven't went off in this truth. I went off multiple times in this truth. And the elder said something. He was like, pretty much, does that make you give up? You know, scriptures talk about, how's it worded? It talks about how you, in the second Ezra, it talks about let not your sins weigh you down. So we're going to go off constantly till Yahweh Shem Yahushua comes and delivers us. But the thing is, there's certain ways we supposed to treat one another. There's certain ways we supposed to walk. And you constantly need to be repenting. You know, we going off on just what we wearing and eating, you know. Scriptures talk about in Ecclesiasticus, or the book of Sirach, it says, I'm going to start at verse 3 because I ain't got time to go to verse 1. Cleave unto him and depart not away, that thou may be in. I'm going to start at verse 1. My son, if thou come to serve the Lord, prepare thy soul for temptation. And more than likely, that's going into them trials and tribulations. Set thy heart aright and constantly endure. Going back to that 2 Timothy chapter 2. Endure hardness and make not haste in the time of trouble. Don't leave your foundation. Stand your ground. Scriptures talk about the righteous man standing in great boldness. Verse 3, cleave unto him and depart not away. You know, what's that? Psalms 91, under the shadow of the Almighty. Cleave unto him and depart not away, that thou mayest be increased at thy last end. Whatsoever is brought upon thee, take cheerfully, and be patient when thou art changed to a low estate. For gold is tried in the fire, and acceptable men in the furnace of adversity. And that's what the Lord is doing. He's proving us. This is, I saw a brother recently, and I sent him a video, and it's so cold because I deleted his number because a lot of Jake ain't fucking with me, you know what I mean? And in their mind, I'm the devil. So long story short, he saw me and saluted, and you know what I mean, we embraced, and it was so beautiful because it was good for my spirit. So I sent him this video because he had said something back when I was in the camp, and this is our passage of manhood. It was basically, God talking about the different initiation rituals of different males of different tribes throughout Babylon, well, throughout the world, and this is ours, because Babylon the Great didn't make a lot of us men, but this truth is, and we got examples. First and foremost with our elder and apostles, and that's why I say I can't see myself, disrespecting them, the men that taught me the truth, But, brother said something a long time ago. He said pretty much this is how fucked up this place is because everybody wasn't raised the same. So you got Jake not understanding how you supposed to treat your elders, you know what I mean? How you supposed to do certain things. And I could fall a victim to that, you know what I mean? Again, a harsh word. But I grew up around a man, I'm heavy-handed with certain shit. I watch how even my daughters do that. Like, we was around this female, and she was like, oh, no, trying to give him a plate, and it's too hot. And my daughter, me and her talked about it. She was like, it wasn't even that hot. You know what I mean? Like, so it's a reason why the Lord got, because it would be way easier to have boys or a boy, But it wasn't. That wasn't my lot. I always say, my lot was very spiritual, There's a reason why the Lord didn't give me boys. So, the Lord is, preparing that fire within us because we got more trials and tribulations to come. This is the book of 2 Ezra chapter 7, and the point is verse 18. Nevertheless, the righteous shall suffer straight things and hope for wide, for they have done wickedly, have suffered the straight things, and yet shall not see the wide. So when you go into Matthew chapter 7, it talks about the straight gate, which is a path to difficulty. And that's what this truth pretty much entails. And if you truly are striving for masteries, you have to come to understand and accept that. Again, that's the one beautiful thing we got about our power, because no matter what you go off on, you can always repent. It's you don't think I've been realized that it was something about me and my, that I had to suffer certain things. That's why I ain't really mad at no Jake. You know what I mean? Yeah, it was fucked up how I went, but we gonna be up under these curses until the end. So if you're so-called, again, you better cleave onto Yahweh Shem Yahushua, and you better pray that the Lord don't never take his spirit away from me. From me, from you, all the true brothers, at the end of the day, like the brother did a video, he said, if you of the 144,000, you good. So that's why, but none of us know who that is. So that's why it's not a good thing to get puffed up, If you're so-called Black, Hispanic, Native American, Seminole Indian, West Indian, or Haitian, I implore you to come back to the laws, statutes, and commandments of your power, whose true name in the Paleo-Hebrew is Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahushua. You will be destroyed. With that, I want to give all praise, all honor, and all glory to call Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahushua Ba'ashem. Kodash, double honors to the elders, to the apostles that taught me this truth. Peace and salutations to Akim across the four corners of the earth, pushing the truth with faith and with sincerity. Till next time, Lord willing, shalom, shalom, Kwam Yashar, Allah, Mawaf, Lababal.